leper came to him and kneeled down, begged him, and said, "If you wish, you can make me clean." Moved with pity, he stretched out his hand, touched the leper, and said to him, "I do will it. Be made clean." The leprosy left him immediately, and he was made clean. Then, warning him sternly, he dismissed him at once. Then he said to him, "See that you tell no one anything, but go, show yourself to the priest, and offer for your cleanse what Moses prescribed. That will be the proof for them." The man went away and began to publicize the whole matter. He spread the report abroad, so that it was impossible for Jesus to enter a town openly. He remained outside in deserted places, and people kept coming to him from everywhere. The Gospel of the Lord. Yesterday the meditation was, among other things, on the miracle that Jesus had done, healing to the mother-in-law of St. Peter, the woman who was sick. We do not know how seriously with the fever. The Gospel says she got up and began to serve them. Before a grace, we have to give thanks with deeds, to serve the one who has helped us, to serve God, to be grateful. Today, we see a strange situation because it should not be normal. Peter's mother-in-law thanked, serving instead. Today we see a leper healed. This man must have faith. He said to her, "If you want, you can clean them. You can clean me." And he had humility. He had the demanded. He asked for it with humility. If you want, and it is your will, well, was the man. It is to be expected. It is logical. Very happy after being cured. Finally, he returns to normal life. He had to present himself to the priest, because if not, he had to present himself to the priest, because otherwise he could not have the certificate of healing. That is how it was then. But the Lord told him, "Please," and in the Gospel says that he had told him severally. He insisted only to the priest. I suppose that also to his family naturally, and he disobeyed him. He transformed a grace into an offense. Not only did he not give thanks, but he heard Jesus. He probably did not want to do it. Anyway, the man was enthusiastic, but he heard Jesus. He heard him. The Gospel said that he could no longer enter any town, and that he had to sleep outside in the field because of the disobedience of this man, who had transformed an act of love of Christ, a great miracle, into a reason to offend the one who had helped him. And this is the meditation. What do we do with the grace of God? For example, so many things: health, youth, intelligence, culture, money. What do we do with all that God has given us? There are many people that, in front of the problems, they think. The problems sink. They break him. They are filled with questions without answer, and they moved away from God. Well, this exists. I did not say that it is good. Not at all. It is well. They would have not to remember the good times and to thank God for what they have left. But it is humanly understandable, although it is not well. But there are many more people, many more without comparison, that sink when they do well in life. The success for their relationship with God is much worse than failure. Just look at how it is the questions of religious practicing of faith in poor countries or in rich countries. The richer any country is, the less people go to Mass, the emptier the seminarians. In the face of pain, of whatever kind, there is an intrinsic to ask for help, and if you have faith, you go to ask God for help, even if you have doubts about your faith. But original sin has within us, among other things, taking away another instinct. Thankfulness is not instinctive, at least for the vast majority. Perhaps 1 of the 10 have an instinct of thankfulness. The vast majority do not. We all have the instinct to ask, but we do not have the instinct to give, and above all, to thank the other person. And this is very significant from childhood, how children express themselves when they come home from school with their grades. For example, they always say, I pass or I fail. It is very rare to find people who give thanks. It is very rare that normal things is to ask, forget, and even transform the gift received into a reason to hurt the one who has given it to you. Do you have health? But if tomorrow you lose it, do you have money? So much? A lot of money? So much that you think you are not going to lose it? And that you will not die? Hence, the choice of this ungrateful leper. I repeat, he was surely full of enthusiasm, and I could like to think that he did not want to offend Jesus. But the lessons are, what are you doing with God's gifts? With God's gifts? Are you putting them at God's service, or are they serving to keep you away from God? My parents' generation lived through the Civil War in Spain, and they had children, many children. My generation learned many things from their parents, for example, to work, but they had few children. The next generation lives much more comfortable, without comparison to my parents' generation, and they no longer have children. What is money good for? What is it for to spend more? Is that what you want it for? My parents' generations used to go to Mass. I am not saying 100% of the population in Spain, but the majority did. This generation, which could be the grandchildren of my parents, this generation hardly ever goes anymore, and they are richer, more cultured, and I don't know if they are wiser. I don't think they are wiser, but they are more cultured. What are the gifts for God? What are the gifts of God for? Let's think about this. What am I doing with the gifts of God? Am I putting them at the service of God? Am I approaching God to give thanks, or on the contrary, am I using them to move away from God? If so, I will not be saying to the Lord, punish me, because the only way to be close to you is for things to go wrong for me. Let us thank God for what He has given us and put it at His service before it's too late. Amen.